The 24 Hours of Nürburgring is one of the greatest racing events in motorsport. But what are the details regarding this race? And what makes it so special? Well, in this video, I'll break down the information that you need to know about this iconic race. This is the 24 Hours of Nürburgring explained. The 24 Hours of Nürburgring is an annual endurance race to test the skill and performance of all parties involved. It is the ultimate challenge of endurance, to compete in non-stop racing for 24 hours straight. Teams will also compete on what has been regarded as one of the most challenging and exciting racing circuits in the world. If racing for 24 hours wasn't hard enough, try racing for 24 hours at the Nürburgring, regarded as the Green Hell. The track is one of the reasons why this 24-hour endurance race is so special and unique, because there is nothing else quite like it across the world. Opened in the 1920s, the Nürburgring is located in the small town of Nürburgring, Germany. Arguably, the Nürburgring is the most famous circuit in the world, and the cars competing in the 24-hour endurance race will compete on the most difficult layout of the track, the Nordschleife. This layout consists of a staggering 170 corners that make up the 25.3 kilometer track. That's 15.7 miles for those using that system. Some of the reasons why this track is so special is because of how narrow the circuit is, how long it is, and considering that each corner takes pure skill to master. Now, of course, the track makes this race very special, but adding on to that factor of the circuit is the element of endurance racing itself. I've said this multiple times on the channel before, but one of the reasons why endurance racing is so special is because there's not just one race going on, but there are multiple. Hypothetically, during this race, you could see two cars battling for the win in their class, but simultaneously while they're doing this, they're having to navigate around slower cars, and on top of that, they're also having to think about faster cars behind in a position for their class win. That's one of the beauties of endurance racing, and that's very much apparent here at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. And in fact, it's intensified because of how narrow and long this circuit is, and considering there are more than 100 cars competing simultaneously, the racing will be exciting and challenging at the exact same time. Add on to the fact that cars will be racing for 24 hours straight, meaning that racing will begin midday on Saturday and complete midday on Sunday. Now, a vital piece of information to know about the 24 Hours of Nürburgring are about the cars that actually compete during the event, and the huge variety between them. Now, just to clarify, this is not an event for prototype race cars. So that means that hypercars from the regulations of LMH and LMDH that compete in the WEC and IMSA will not be here at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, nor will prototypes such as the LMP2 cars or LMP3 cars be competing at this event. So if prototypes aren't in this event, which cars are? Well, the 24 Hours of Nürburgring is mainly a GT event. This means we'll see cars that competed in other GT endurance races, such as the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps and the 12 Hours of Bathurst. We will also see cars that compete in the WEC's all-new category of LMGT3, as well as IMSA's GTD classes. For example, this includes the Porsche 911 GT3R and the Ferrari 296 GT3. The types of cars that are usually participating at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring include the GT2, GT3, GT4, Cup cars, and touring cars. The cars that will attract the most attention during the race will be the race cars using the regulation of GT3. One of the reasons why there's so much attention on them is because the GT3 cars are typically the race cars that are battling for overall victory. Another important fact to know about the 24 Hours of Nürburgring is that there is a huge variety in different car manufacturers participating in this event. Upcoming is the list of manufacturers that are going to be participating in the 2024 edition of this race. So this includes the brands of Mercedes, Audi, BMW, Porsche, Aston Martin, Glickenhaus, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Volkswagen, Mini, Dacia, Toyota, KTM, Subaru, Hyundai, Renault, and Cupra. As you can tell by this list, the amount of manufacturers committed to this race is staggering. In fact, This equates to 17 car brands on the grid. When it comes to this race, a factor to keep in mind are the classes. For example, at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, we're used to seeing 3 classes. At the 24 Hours of Daytona, we're used to seeing 4. But at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, we are expecting to see over 20 different classes at this event. That is quite a lot, especially considering other prestigious events such as Le Mans and Daytona, for example. First off, there are the special classes, which are for the GT cars. SP1 to SP8 is defined by the displacement of the engine. SP9 is the class for FIA GT3 cars only. Then there's SP10, which is for GT4 cars only. There's also the SPX class. This is the experimental entry class, and this is typically where we see the Glickenhaus SCG004C compete. There's the AT class for the alternative fuel entries, the V classes for production road cars, Cup classes, and finally a TCR class. One class I'd mainly keep an eye on is the SP9 category, as this is the class where the GT3 cars are typically battling for the overall victory. Now, considering there are so many cars competing in this event, sometimes over 150, and because this is a long endurance race, that means there will be multiple drivers for one car. At times, the 24 Hours of Nürburgring can see over 600 drivers participate in an event. That's definitely quite a lot of drivers out on track, especially considering other endurance races and other motorsports entirely. It's true that because of the track, the variety in cars and manufacturers, the drivers, and so on, we get some of the best racing in the world here at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. The fact is, this event is often referred to as the pinnacle of GT endurance racing, and while it has some of the best GT endurance racing out there, I also don't want to disregard other events such as the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the 24 Hours of Spa, the Bathurst 12-hour, and so on. Now, it's also worth mentioning that during the race, it's special off-track as well. It's a festival out there, as thousands of people come to experience the thrill of pure endurance racing during a 24-hour race at the Nürburgring. For decades, racing and the festivities around it have been going on, and it's quite the venue. As of recording this, the 24 Hours of Nürburgring has happened 51 times, with the first ever race happening back in 1970, with the BMW 2002 taking overall victory. Ever since 1970, the Nürburgring has continued to play host to this incredible 24-hour event. And since it is a German endurance race, it makes sense that the German manufacturers have dominated. The German brands that have won here include Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Opel, and Porsche. While the German brands have consistently won at this event, they aren't the only manufacturers to do so. In the past, American car manufacturers Ford and Chrysler took victory, and most recently in 2023, a historic win was achieved by Ferrari, as Frickadelli Racing took their 296 GT3 to the top step of the podium. As I've explained, the 24 Hours of Nürburgring definitely has great qualities and is a classic endurance race. I truly hope you found this video to be informative, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the matter of the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. Post your thoughts down in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, I hope you subscribe because I make endurance racing content every week, especially on WEC and IMSA, as well as videos on the 24 Hours of Nürburgring as you saw here. And if you want to watch more videos, there's options on your screen. But for now, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one.